What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing home the bacon NBA DFS video. It is Thursday. It is April 4th, and we are back with another video for you guys. Hopefully, this video finds you doing well. Hopefully, you did well yesterday for the NBA, but I want to bring you the 5-game Thursday slate that we're going to cover. So, we're going to do things a little bit differently than maybe what you're used to. We're going to go over the Vegas numbers that are currently out. Then we're going to go over the 5 games that are in there. We're going to look at plays that make sense. We're going to look at plays that, some value plays, because we're getting part of the season where teams are in the playoffs, so they're resting people. Teams are out of the playoffs, so they're resting people and playing random people. And then we got teams fighting for it, so these players should, in theory, get their normal amount of minutes and stuff like that. So we'll look at that. And then after we go over that, we will build a lineup using one of the tools, which is Fantasy Team Advisors NBA Points Allowed by Position tool right here. If you haven't been to the site, check it out. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com is the website. Under the NBA tab, we have a ton of information there, from simulation models to player trends to player projections. We've got it all. We are, Friday is the last day to use it, but the promo code FTA Plus right now, if you go to the yearly pass, normally $199, use the promo code MLBVIP, all one word, all capital letters. You will get a year pass for $75 instead of $199. So if you want to check that out, definitely get it. It's Friday will be the last day, and then it's gone. So $75 for the full year instead of $30 for a month. So that being said, use the promo code MLBVIP if you would like. We also have giveaways every single day. Every video we have at least 2 giveaways. The first way to do it, like the video, be a subscriber, and leave a comment on the video. If this video gets at least 50 likes, we will give away, with the random comment picker, a weekly pass to FTA Plus. If the video gets 100 likes, it's a free month. 125 likes, a free year, and 150 or more likes on any video, we give away lifetime passes. The second way to do it, like the video, be a subscriber, and tell me who is going to score the most amount of DraftKings fantasy points on this NBA slate today, and how many fantasy points will they score. If you get it closest without going over, we will give a free week of DFS. If you get the score exactly correct, their exact amount of DraftKings fantasy points, we will give away a free month of FTA Plus. So, that being said, in the description of this video is the article that will be for today's slate. You can check that out. You can check our Discord channel out, because in that Discord we go back and forth with a lot of people. We talk, we give plays, we give our core plays there, we give value plays every single day. So definitely go check that out. And we have a link. Just all of our social media links are in the description. So we do look at the lines currently right now. We've got Atlanta versus Dallas. Currently, Dallas is a 10-point favorite. Atlanta is bad. So if Luka can get his points early, I feel confident about that. But if it's a double-digit kind of, so it opened at 10. It's actually at 11 right now. It's a double-digit. I don't know if he'll be too expensive, but we'll have to look. It's 5 games. You might have to pay up for certain players. Sacramento versus New York. It's currently, New York is a 3.5-point favorite. Philly and Miami don't have one, but I fully expect it to be Miami being the favorite there. We've got Golden State versus Houston. Golden State's a 4-point favorite right now. And then Denver versus the Clippers. Currently, we do not have any numbers there. So, let's look at the games. Atlanta versus Dallas. Let's make it make sense. We know Luka's going to do well. We know Trae Young being back, if it'll load. My computer's been going very slow lately. I mean, okay, so, yeah. I mean, he hasn't played. I don't know why. Okay, now he's got the out. Are you kidding me? Did they just update this? No, they just don't have his. Okay, Trae Young's out. They just don't have his thing there for now. Whatever. I don't know why. But, the plays, you pay up for Luka at $12,500. Basically, with NBA, you need at least 7 times value. So you're looking for 7 times value. Minimum, bare minimum is 7 times value. So you need 12,500 times 7, which is going to be very hard to find. So that is why we're trying to dig a little bit deeper and find those value plays that we're looking for. So a Daniel Gafford at 5,700 would make sense. We've used VIT a lot lately. coming off some good points. I mean, 4,100, he had 30 fantasy points there. A really good game out of him. Couple of stinkers, and then some good games for his price. Vit's another one, especially playing from behind double digits. Love me some Vit here. Bruno Fernando, same kind of thing. As long as he's in there, the minutes have kind of been 20-ish or so. We're getting 20-plus fantasy points out of him. I'm okay with him at 4,100 because we got to pay down somewhere. You go a little bit lower on Dallas side. If, in fact, they go up big, you could look at Dante Exum here. Minutes have been right around 20. Hasn't really done a ton with it, but at 3,400, let's say we get 15 fantasy points out of him. We're able, using him at 3,400, we are able to pay up at other positions. So I don't mind that at all. A Derek Jones Jr., you could be looking at. He just really hasn't done much with his minutes. But again, this is one of those plays where you got to get creative if you're building a tournament lineup. You go a little bit, Maxi Kleber's 3,100, which is the cheapest I've seen him. It's tied for the cheapest. The minutes have been there, but he hasn't done anything with them. These are the kind of plays that I don't know if we go any lower. Honestly, I don't know if we could go any lower than Josh Green. And he had a bad game. He only played 4 minutes. He's out. Questionable. Hasn't even played since the 14th. So he's out. I don't know why this isn't showing up at the moment. But yeah, so Derek Jones Jr. would be the lowest I'd go, but if I'm going in that range, I'd rather go Exum and feel confident about. But yeah, you're still paying up for Luka. You're still paying up for Deontay Murray. He's a stud. You're still paying up for Bojanovic, Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella. This. If you don't want to pay up for Luka at 12,500, maybe you go down a little bit, save almost 4,000 and go Kyrie. If you don't think you can get the value we need out of Luka. Go Sacramento versus the Knicks. Sabonis makes sense. De'Aaron Fox makes sense. Jalen Brunson makes sense. Now, in our Discord for 2 nights ago, someone, and they do screenshots of their lineup, and they're like, hey, what do you think about this lineup, so on and so forth, which is great. We get, whether it's me, whether or not it's the community, giving feedback on these plays and such. They had Miles McBride in there, and they said, what about McBride? And I said, tournament play, I'm okay with that. But with Jalen Brunson in, you never know what you're going to get out of him. But he's had back-to-back 30-plus fantasy point games, back-to-back 32.5-plus out of that versus OKC versus Miami. So we look at this, even with Jalen Brunson in there, them being a favorite, I like Miles McBride under 6,000. He's 5,900 still. If we could get 30 out of him, obviously it's about 5 times value, but you're able to pay up. DiVincenzo, love me some DiVincenzo. Keegan Murray, I had one of our sports bets, which I also forgot. If you sign up for FTA Plus, that is sports betting and that is a DFS. But we had Keegan Murray to end a big parlay for the night with 20-plus points 2 nights ago. Ended with 19. Lost it. We've been doing really well with baseball bets. Our home run bets, we'll be doing round robin. For Wednesday, I had Aaron Judge, Corey Seager early for round robin along with Jordan. We cashed that early with Corey early in the game, and then I think Judge homered pretty early in the game too. So it was profit no matter what. So it was awesome. If you're into that, we put those into the Discord channel as well. So definitely click the link to it. But we look at this. You want to go a little bit lower here. Harrison Barnes, we've been on him sometimes this season, and he's done well. And then he's got a 13 burger out of there with the minutes. The minutes have been there. We look at splits. He's faced the Knicks once this year, got averaged 30 fantasy points, which would be about 6 times value here, which would be awesome. So Harrison Barnes, if they're playing from behind, I don't mind him. I don't mind Keon Ellis. But if I'm going with Keon or Harrison, because they're pretty similar close, I'm probably leaning more towards Harrison Barnes there. You go a little bit lower, Bohan, you could look at if it loads. The other Bojanovic brother. Bojan the Bojanovic brother. I don't know if it's going to load at the moment. You could look at him for tournaments. I mean, he's only 3,600. The minutes, I just don't know if the minutes are going to be there for him. So that does kind of scare me. Trey Lyles is more of a tournament option, and I wouldn't go any lower than that. I don't see how I can't go any lower. than Bojanovic, and that's a massive tournament play only. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to reload the page. Awesome. Love it. Love it. The weather outside has been terrible. The internet's been kind of slow with how bad the weather's been, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, so those are the plays that I would use in the Sacramento Knicks game. We got Philly versus Miami. We got Hero out, Melton out, Richardson out, Maxey questionable. Like, we kind of know. Embiid, please. So he did play Tuesday. So when I did the video, he was out again. But then he played Tuesday. Played 29 minutes, 45 fantasy points at 11,000. They kept him there with Embiid being back. He should be back. He is questionable. I don't mind him at 11,000. Again, it's a knee problem, so you never know. But then on the flip side, Adebayo, I don't mind. Jimmy Butler, like these guys, I don't mind. So then you come down here, Paul Reed, so probably not going to get much out of Reed, not going to get much out of Bamba. Reed actually put up 26 fantasy points in 19 minutes, 4,800. That's not bad. That's not bad, 4,600 if everyone's going to be on Embiid. You could pivot to Reed just a little bit. Buddy Hield would be one I'd use. We're going to see with Embiid being back, we're going to see a lot of Philly players who have filled in. Maybe fantasy points are going to be there. But in the description of this video is the article that goes along with the video. In that, we break down each position by 3 top, 3 mid, and 3 value picks at every single position with the floor fantasy projections that we have. So those are early projections. Once news comes out about this person and that person being in or out, that is when we build more simulations. That's when we update the value plays, the projections, and everything. So what I tell everyone, go to FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, check everything out under FTA Plus about 2 hours before tip-off. That is when everything is updated for the most part. And then about around the same time, check the Discord out because that's when we give Fanduel and DraftKings core plays as well. So the lowest I'd probably go, maybe Nick Batum, but it really just depends. With Embiid being back, it will take away a few people out of there. Golden State versus Houston. Love me some goal. I love this game. Jalen Green, don't mind him. Steph Curry, Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson. I'm looking at them. A little bit lower. Trace Jackson Davis, Klay Thompson, Wiggins. I don't mind them. Chris Paul, a cheap option at 5,000. You want to go a little bit lower? We can look at Jason Tate. Hasn't really done much. The minutes haven't been there for Tate, so I'm off of him. So it's basically Aaron Holiday for value, but the minutes have been so inconsistent. When he played 23 minutes against Dallas, he put up almost 30 fantasy points, almost 10 times value. Moses Moody's a value option we've used this season. Lately, we're getting about 20 minutes out of Moody. It depends on what we get out of him. Going up against Houston, he's faced him twice this year, only averaged 12.6 fantasy points per game. But at 3,800, I honestly don't mind that, especially if you're trying to pay up for either Kyrie or Embiid or Luka today. And then Denver versus the Clippers. Obviously, Jokic is always in play. Paul George. We'll see about Kawhi and Murray being questionable. If Kawhi is out, obviously that would boost James Harden immensely. They're about the same price anyway. But again, you're looking at Michael Porter, Norman Powell. I would look at Russell Westbrook. I don't mind. KCP is okay in my book. DeAndre Jordan is a value option. I don't know how much he would actually get out of here. The minutes have not been there for him. So DeAndre Jordan is out. So it's basically KCP and up for me in this one. I don't think I'd go Braun or down. They just haven't done anything with the playing time that they've been given for the most part. Again, anything can change. Got to check the Vegas numbers, see what it opened with, and see what the current numbers are. See where Vegas is seeing the games, and then build with those games with obviously the highest over-under first, and then games that you think is going to be a blowout. Obviously, you want to take players you believe will contribute to that blowout, but then you got to figure out players on the other side that will be getting more playing time because maybe their team is getting blown out. So, that being said, those are all of the games. Let's build a lineup using the tool that you can find. NBA tab, right here. NBA points allowed by position. So how to read this, the team on the left is the defense and how many fantasy points they give up to the opposing position, whichever one we're looking at, and we will build a lineup from there. So San Antonio, Utah, Phoenix, and Washington, none of those are playing. Can't use them. Go down here, we figure out that Houston's obviously playing. They give up an average of 50.9 fantasy points per game to the opposing point guard, which is right now Golden State. So we look at Golden State. It's obviously Curry for point guard. Chris Paul will be your cheap option, obviously, at $5,000. We're seeing his price, and we're not seeing the 50 fantasy points that we're used to. So you come down to Chris Paul. The minutes have been there. More palatable here because he's 5,000. So if he could get 25 fantasy points, obviously. Go a little bit lower to Podziemski if he gets in there. The minutes have been there for him. Fantasy points are there. So while everyone is probably going to be on Curry for good measure, I'm building a tournament lineup. I'm going to pivot down to Podziemski here, and that still allows us to build other places, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So looking at shooting guard, Utah, Washington, Atlanta. None of these. Well, Atlanta is playing. So Atlanta gives up the third most to the opposing shooting guard at 46.2 fantasy points. So we take that. That is Dallas. That is Kyrie. Like I said earlier, if you don't want to pay up for Luka, Kyrie's in a good spot. Game log wise, I mean, he's playing 40-plus minutes. He's getting the points that he needs. Obviously, you would like to see 60-plus out of him. But if we're paying almost 4,000 less than Luka, which everyone's going to be on, we gotta take exposure. So I will pivot down to Kyrie as well, which I'm still confident about this. Then we move to small forward. Utah, Washington, Toronto, Atlanta. Utah, Washington, Toronto, and Atlanta. So again, we're Dallas for small forward. So Tim Hardaway, Derek Jones Jr., kind of already talked about them. Hardaway, the minutes have been there, 20-plus out of him. Really, he hasn't done anything with those minutes. Okay? Those minutes haven't done anything. 26 minutes against Golden State, 15.75 fantasy points. That's what he's accomplished, which hasn't been a lot. So we look at that, and 15.7 is not a lot. At 4,000, I mean, at 4,000, in theory, you're looking for 7 times value. You're looking for 28 fantasy points. It's been a minute since he's got that. What has he done against Atlanta? Played one game, averaged 23 fantasy points, which is okay, but that's not much. So I'm probably looking Derek Jones Jr. here, game log. The minutes 18 to 22 minutes there. 3,300 allows a lot, but again, it will really depend on how this game shakes out. 3,300 is okay, but let's pivot to a different one and just see what we've got. So we've got Lakers, Kings, Spurs, Golden State. So we are looking on the flip side of this and look at Houston small forward, Amen Thompson or Cam Whitmore. Now, Cam Whitmore, game log wise, minutes have been there, 20 to 23 minutes, 24 minutes, 20-plus fantasy points. If this game stays close enough, I think Cam Whitmore could be in store for a good game, especially at 4,100. Or you can go Amen Thompson at 6,600. Minutes have only really been there. Kind of crazy. We look at his splits. Golden State won 16.5. I think I'm going to pay down here. I'm going to go Whitmore. And I think people are going to be on Thompson, which is fine. I completely understand that. I'm probably looking at paying down a little bit at Whitmore, because then when we do that, we can still average about 6,500. So then we move to the power forward position. Utah, Toronto, Washington. None of those teams are playing. Pivot down. Atlanta is another one here. We look at Atlanta. They're playing Dallas yet again. PJ Washington, 5,300. Minutes have been there for PJ. Fantasy points have been there for PJ. It's going to be a Dallas day, it feels like. You could go Luka on here too, because we can still average 6,800 throughout the rest of the way. So let's take a look. Center position. San Antonio, Washington, Portland, Detroit, Charlotte, Toronto, Atlanta. Atlanta's another one. Dallas, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively. You're getting these minutes out of Gafford. You're getting 20 plus. He's 5,700. Maybe I don't like that as much. So then you can kind of get a feel for a different way. So Atlanta, then Golden State. So let's look at Houston, Jabari Smith Jr., Jock Landale. Depends. Jabari at 6,300 is under what we can average, and he's been getting some. We look at splits. He's faced Golden State twice. 36.4 was his average, which I like right here. So we put him in there, and we can still now average 7,000 the rest of the way. So we get into the guard. We look here right around 7. Bojanovic, I don't mind that. 38, 61. Has he faced Dallas this year? Playing from behind, got 38 fantasy points against them at 7,000. Give me some Bojanovic and move it on, sister. So forward, we look at the forward position. Now look at the forward position, average about 7. Jalen Johnson against Dallas, DiVincenzo against Sacramento, he's been doing well. I'm going to go Dante here. Now our utility is 7,300 and below. Josh Hart, Jalen Johnson, Terry Rozier, Amen Thompson, just however you want to go. Clint Capella on the other end here. Really depends. You can go a lot of ways here. Looking at Jalen Johnson, we've already looked at him, about 25-ish minutes. Hasn't kind of let us down a little bit. Once against Dallas, 38. I'm going that. So in this game, we've got 2 Atlanta players. We've got 1 Nick. We've got a Golden State player, 2 Houston players, and 2 Dallas players in this 5-game slate. Now, this is just one lineup, not the only way to build it. If you've got questions, get those down below. If you want to check everything out on the website, go ahead, FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. Good luck, and as always, let's bring home some bacon. Peace!